The man who moves mountains begins by carrying away small stones. Confucius, in a world that races on the edge of exhaustion, where dopamine pings define self-worth and rest is seen as weakness, there lies a forgotten power, not in the rush, but in the stillness, the kind that unnerves the distracted, the kind that silences noise not with volume, but with presence, the kind our ancestors revered, and we've discarded. You're told to hustle, to outwork, to out-scream, to be louder, faster, better, all the time. But somewhere in that infinite scroll of urgency, we've lost the soul of action. We've traded clarity for chaos, depth for speed, and now we're spinning. But Confucius knew better. Not because he was ancient, but because he was timeless. He taught that the superior man is calm and at ease. Not because he does less, but because he's anchored. While others thrash with every wave of the world, he stands like a mountain, unshaken. You see, it's not about how fast you move, but where you're centered when you move. The world doesn't need more motion. It needs more direction. More rooted souls who choose intention over impulse. Stillness is not the absence of motion. It is the presence of purpose. The quiet is not empty. It's full of answers. The modern mind fears silence because silence reveals the truth, and most aren't ready for truth. They're addicted to distraction. But you're here, listening, wanting more, to which means something inside you is awakening, stirring, remembering that the still water reflects the clearest image, that the unmoved center directs the spinning wheel, that only in stillness can you truly hear yourself. Because until you slow down, you'll never speed up the right way. So ask yourself, when did you last sit in silence? Not by force, but by choice. When did you last pause? Not because the world collapsed, but because your soul asked you to breathe. Most wait until the breakdown. Until illness or heartbreak or burnout finally force their surrender. But the wise practice the pause before the storm, and by doing so, they tame it. Confucius taught that order begins in the self. That a man must regulate his heart before he rules his home. That discipline starts not with punishment, but with presence. To be in control of your life, you must first be in control of your inner world. But look around. Do you see control? No. You see reaction. People bouncing between dopamine hits, chasing validation in pixels, consumed by urgency not of their own making. Confucius wouldn't scroll endlessly. He would sit beneath a tree, observe the wind, the leaves, the faces of men, and find a lesson in every breath. He moved slowly, so his words could move forever. And today, you must reclaim that art. The art of being grounded when the world is frantic. Because until you can hold your center, you'll always be at the mercy of external storms. Stillness is not withdrawal. It's mastery. It is standing so powerfully within yourself that you are no longer pulled by every current, no longer enslaved by the need to prove or perform. You act when it's time to act. Speak when it's time to speak. Rest when it's time to rest. And through it all, you remain whole. The still man is not the slow man. He is the strategic man, the one who sees farther, feels deeper, moves with conviction, not compulsion. And in this world of chaos, that kind of soul is rare. But it is magnetic. It draws respect, not noise. Peace, not panic. Power, not pretense. When you are still, you are not lost. You are watching. You are learning. You are aligning. The archer does not shoot without breath. The warrior does not swing wildly in rage. The philosopher does not speak without reflection. And the king does not rule without silence. So why should you? Why should you leap into every battle, respond to every ping, argue every opinion, chase every trend? You were not born to react. You were born to respond. From a place of clarity. You were born to lead. From a place of virtue. You were born to create. From a place of stillness so deep, your actions echo through generations. Confucius said, "When we see men of worth, we should think of equaling them. When we see men of a contrary character, we should turn inward and examine ourselves." Stillness is that examination. It is the mirror, the fire, the forge. In the quiet, you will meet your own contradictions, your fear of stillness, your addiction to chaos, your resistance to simplicity. But you will also find something else, your true self. The self that is not performing, not pleasing, not proving. The self that simply is. And once you find that self, you will walk differently. You will speak less, but say more. You will move slower, but accomplish greater. You will stop chasing what you never needed and start becoming what you were always meant to be. The world doesn't need another echo. It needs a voice, one that rises from the core of stillness and speaks with the thunder of knowing. That voice can be yours. But you must first return to the center. Return to the breath. Return to the practice. Return to the quiet power of being present. Because in stillness, you don't escape the world. You finally learn how to move within it. The stillness paradox. How doing less achieves more. There is a paradox at the heart of stillness. One that the modern mind struggles to accept. We believe that more action equals more results. More noise equals more influence. More speed equals more success. But history whispers a different truth. The greatest minds, Leonardo da Vinci, Newton, Lao Tzu, did not rush. They observed. They pondered. They allowed ideas to ripen in the quiet before sharing them with the world. Confucius did not sprint from town to town shouting his wisdom. He walked. He listened. He taught only when the student was ready. Stillness is not passivity. It is patience. It is the understanding that some things cannot be forced, only nurtured. Yet today, we mistake stillness for stagnation. We fear that if we pause, we will fall behind. But the opposite is true. The man who digs 100 shallow wells will never find water. The man who digs one deep well will. Stillness is depth. The modern assault on stillness. Every force in modern life conspires against stillness. Notifications fracture attention. Social media rewards reactivity. The cult of hustle glorifies exhaustion as a badge of honor. We have been conditioned to believe that stillness is laziness. That silence is awkward. That slowing down is surrender. But this is the great deception. Stillness is not surrender. It is strategy. The warrior who charges without thought is not brave. he is reckless. The thinker who speaks without reflection is not wise, he is loud, Confucius taught. The superior man is modest in his speech, but exceeds in his actions. Stillness is where speech is tempered, where action is refined, where impulse is mastered. The 3 pillars of Confucian stillness: to reclaim stillness in a world that can't stop moving. We must return to 3 ancient principles. 1. Zhong and don't. The unshaken center, the superior man, is like a tree with deep roots. Storms may bend him, but they cannot break him. Modern life is a storm of distractions, opinions, and demands. Without a center, we are blown in every direction. Zhong is the art of returning to oneself, not in ego, but in clarity. It is the practice of asking, is this mine to carry? Is this mine to answer? Is this mine to fear? Most of what we react to is not ours. Most of what we chase is not needed. Stillness begins when we stop living at the mercy of external forces and start acting from internal truth. 2. Jing in Jing. The power of quietude. The ancient masters did not fear silence. They cultivated it. In a world that demands instant reactions, Jing is the discipline of pause. It is the space between stimulus and response where wisdom lives. Before speaking, pause. Before deciding, breathe. Before reacting, reflect. Jing is the antidote to impulsive living. It is the reminder that not every email needs an immediate reply. Not every argument requires your voice. Not every trend deserves your attention. Silence is not weakness. It is the quiet strength of a man who knows his words have weight. 3. Ding, sinding. The anchored mind. A boat without an anchor drifts. A mind without stillness scatters. Ding is the practice of mental discipline, not through force, but through focus. It is the ability to sit with discomfort, to observe thoughts without being ruled by them, to act from intention rather than habit. The modern mind is addicted to distraction because distraction numbs. Stillness, by contrast, reveals. And what does it reveal? That much of our business is avoidance. That many of our fears are illusions. That most of our struggles are self-created. Ding is the art of seeing clearly, so you can act decisively. The stillness experiment. If stillness feels foreign, try this. For one day, do not react. Not to the rude comment. Not to the urgent, but unimportant demand. Not to the itch of boredom that begs for a screen. Simply observe. Notice how often the mind craves motion for motion's sake. Notice how quickly discomfort arises in silence. Notice how much of your energy is spent on what does not matter. Then, the next day, choose one action to take from stillness. A conversation where you listen more than you speak. A decision made after a night's sleep, not in the heat of emotion. A moment of true rest, not as a collapsed, but as a ritual. This is how stillness becomes strength. The stillness of kings and warriors. History's greatest leaders were not the loudest. They were the most composed. When Alexander faced the Gordian knot, he did not frantically untee it. He paused. Then, with one deliberate stroke, he cut it. When Lincoln received venomous criticism, he did not fire back in haste. He wrote his anger in a letter, then never sent it. Confucius did not rush to correct every fool. He said, "The noble man is aware of righteousness." The small man is aware of advantage. He knew that stillness weeds out the trivial, leaving only what is essential. Stillness is the mark of mastery. The fighter who bounces nervously before a match is unsure. The one who stands still is ready. The CEO who frantically micromanages is insecure. The one who sits calmly in the storm is in control. Stillness is not the absence of power. It is the essence of it. The return to stillness. We have been taught that success is a race. But what if it is a return? A return to the breath before the word, to the thought before the action, to the self before the world's noise. Confucius said, "The way out is through the door." Why is it that no one will use this method? A stillness is that door. It is always available, always waiting, but you must choose it. Not when the world stops, because the world will never stop. Now. In the meeting that could have been an email. In the scroll that could have been a walk. In the reaction that could have been a breath. Stillness is not found in a retreat from life, but in the very center of it. It is the eye of the hurricane. The pause between notes that makes the music. The space where the real work is done. The final question, so ask yourself, if I do not master stillness, what masters me? The answer will determine everything.